Welcome to the Offside Trap podcast.
Okay, welcome to episode 3 of the Offside Trap podcast. This is Zidane versus Iniesta, so it's going to be debate format. I think it's going to be the best episode so far, in my opinion. Coming in on this episode is a good friend of ours, Sean. He's going to be a judge or an adjudicator, if you will, with me and Robbie tearing the head off each other, talking about who's the better player. I'm going to take Zidane. Robbie's going to take the loser. Robbie's going to take Iniesta. And we're going to discuss it now. We're going to take a short break. Next thing you'll hear is straight into the podcast. Thanks a minute.
Right, so welcome back. The voice we're hearing now is Sean. I'm the friend of the two lads that they mentioned earlier. Yeah, I'm here kind of just to adjudicate in between the two of them while they raffle on about their two players, Iniesta and Zidane. I'd be more of what you call a casual football fan. I wouldn't be in-depthly following any teams. I'm a United supporter. Knows nothing. I remember Arsenal winning the treble there in '98, and that time Vieira hopped into the stands and done that karate kick. I remember that. That was about it. But no, yeah, I'm here. The lads are going to give you a quick breakdown of each player, like a small profile or a small synopsis of their club careers, and then we're going to get straight into the debate.
Yeah, will I go first?
Give me, so Tom, you have Zinedine Zidane, the French all-rounder.
We're putting the papers down for this because this is coming from the heart.
Sheets there, for anyone that doesn't know.
This is coming from the heart now, the French heart. So Zinedine Zidane is, in my opinion, the greatest midfielder ever. Trumps anybody, including Iniesta, obviously. He is not only the most complete midfielder of all time, but nobody that watches football can say that they don't love a bit of aggression every now and then. Headbutting Italians, we've all done that. You know, but in terms of
let him down, I think, let himself down a bit there.
We'll get into that. I didn't, but anyway, I think, look, when you match aggression with elegance, with goal scoring, defending, with overall play, skill, passing, he had absolutely everything. You know, he won absolutely everything, which Iniesta didn't win absolutely everything. He's one of only, you know, a handful of footballers that's won Champions League, World Cup, Euros, Ballon d'Ors. He's won absolutely everything there is to win. He was the best player in every team he ever played in, including Ronaldo, Figo, Beckham, Roberto Carlos. These players absolutely unbelievable. Some of the best that their countries have ever seen. He was better than all of them, and he's better than Iniesta. And we're going to explain why over the next course of this hour show.
And that's Tom there with Zidane. We're going to move on to Robbie now, who's going to give his profile on Iniesta.
Sorry lads, just after waking up there after Tom's
snooze fest.
Yeah, Tom's lovely synopsis of Zidane there. For me, it has to be Iniesta. I just think there's no doubting that Zinedine Zidane is a great player and one of the greatest, but I think someone that is very underrated is Iniesta. You know, he's won everything the game has to offer at club level. And actually at international level, which we'll move on to later on in the show. And just when I see Iniesta play, it's unbelievable. You know, he's, you know, plays the game with such grace and elegance, as Tom alluded to about Zidane.
You copied that.
Yeah, well, you know, you gave me a great word there, so I had to use it, elegance, you know. But when you do think of a player like Iniesta, that's one of the first words that comes to mind, you know. The way he kind of, I always imagine him when I watch him play, he's like a gazelle. He just shifts in and out of people, the way he glides, his touch, everything about him, his pass and his vision, the way he could play across, anywhere across the midfield and kind of the front line as well. He'd so many tools to his game that I've never seen anything like it before. I think the only reason why he has never won a Ballon d'Or is because he played with and in the two greatest players in the era, and Messi and Ronaldo dominated Iniesta's era, and I think if they weren't in the era, he would probably have 3 or 4 Ballon d'Ors without question. So for me, Iniesta extremely underrated. We're going to get into why we think they're both so good. But I really, really do believe when I've watched Iniesta throughout the whole years, all his career, that he is actually a lot better than people actually think, and he actually probably is the better player.
Definitely not. I actually forgot to hit record there. You might have to say
Are
it
you
again.
I was like, no.
It was an elegant joke there from Thomas. Is that all of us now have used the word elegant in our little bits?
So far, yeah.
That's it. That's the word of the day for the podcast. Right, so from then on we're going to hop straight into the actual meat of the debate. The lads are going to go into the club level accolades that both of our protagonist football players have won, and compare and give their overall opinion on who was the better player at club level.
Yeah, I'll go first. Like, obviously, Zinedine Zidane didn't win what he should have won at club level. Do you know what I mean? He played for some unbelievable clubs, played in some of the best teams that we've ever seen, but arguably he should have won a lot more than he did. In saying that, he still won Champions Leagues, he's won leagues, he's won cups. You know what I mean? He has won everything there is to win at club level, but a player of his stature probably should have won it more times than he did. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I'd agree with John. That's probably the only time tonight I'm going to agree with you. But yeah, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I
agree with that 100%.
Obviously, anybody that can look on Wikipedia can see what he's won in terms of his club career. But the one, and even if I give a quick list of them: 2 Serie A's, 1 La Liga, 2 Spanish Cups, Italian Cup, Champions League, Super Cups, yada yada yada. Do you know what I mean? The rest in between. But the reality of it for me with the teams that Zidane played in and what stands out is not so much what he won, it's the fact that no matter what team he was in, no matter what players were on that team, he was the best player in the team. He was the best player at the club. No matter who was on the team, as I said earlier on, Ronaldo, Beckham, Figo, Zidane, you know, Hierro, Iker Casillas, Roberto Carlos, the lads off Juventus, Edgar Davids, all these players. He was better than every single one of them.
I have a question for you, right?
Go on.
Do you think he would have been the best player on the team with Ronaldo in it if it had been a Ronaldo of 2002, 2000
just prior to
the bad injuries? Do you think?
Yeah, I do, because I think overall he's the better player than Ronaldo ever was. That's a different debate, different players, I understand that, but I think looking back on their careers, looking at how good both were, both phenomenal players, but Zinedine Zidane for me is in the top 5 best players ever, not even midfielders, players ever. He was unbelievable at club, everywhere he went. Even his transfer fees dictated that. The most expensive footballer in the world for whatever 8 or 9 years until Cristiano Ronaldo went to Real Madrid. Same thing as he went to Real Madrid. So he's absolutely, like, there's nothing more to say about him in terms of his club career. Yes, he didn't win an awful lot, but head and shoulders above anybody he ever played with. You know?
Did he win everything at every league he was in? So like when you go to the Italian league and the Spanish league, did he win everything in both? I know he not the Ballon d'Ors or anything like that, but like
no, in terms of his club career, when he was at Juventus, he won 2 Serie A's, Super Cup Italia. He also won the UEFA Intertoto, the Intercontinental Cup, and the Super Cup. He won. So when he that's when he first started winning. Serial winner was at Juventus.
Yeah.
At Bordeaux, he only won the Intertoto Cup. And when he was at Cannes, he didn't win anything, but he was only a young player then.
That's, yeah.
You know, it wasn't until he actually lost 2 Champions League finals while at Juventus, back to back, which obviously would have been around the time when he was starting to hit his peak, 97, 98, around then.
Yeah.
Borussia Dortmund beat him in 1, and can't think off the top of my head who it was that beat him in the second one. Who was that? Actually, check that, Sean. Who beat him in 98 Champions League final? Not sure
Real
who it was.
Madrid beat them.
Real Madrid.
Mijatovic 1-0.
There you go. Robbie has it printed out already because he's afraid.
No, that's all coming from the general knowledge.
It is alright, yeah. Paper rustler. But do you know what I mean? So he was beaten by an unbelievable Real Madrid team who, let's face it, then signed him. That's how good he was. You know what I mean? He went to Real Madrid for a world record fee. Look, we're not going to get into the individual accolades. I'm going to save all that ammo for later. When we get into
well, you're going to need them because I don't have enough paper here for the club on our fan Iniesta.
Right,
so.
we'll leave it there and we'll let Robbie get on to Iniesta, will we?
Yeah, if you want to go for there, Robbie, give us your breakdown of Iniesta's club record.
Now let's keep it to a few minutes now. We're not here all night.
Yeah, we don't have that long on the podcast.
We only have a bit of disc space left, so yeah.
So I just think before I get into like what he has actually won, you know, I just think the team he played in, unlike Zidane, Iniesta actually came in at the top level. So he started at one of the biggest clubs in the world, which no doubt is Barcelona, and was unbelievable from the word go. Was singled out for praise straight away by Frank Rijkaard, the then manager. He was 18 when he made his debut for Barcelona.
It's hard to hold your spot in that squad.
You know what I mean? There's probably only one other player that has done that, and we all know who that is Lionel Messi. I think he made his debut when he was 17, Messi, you know, for Barcelona. So, like, to do something like that, the longevity he has had, he's been right there toe to toe with Messi as well in that team, making the Barcelona sides that they played in some of the greatest teams we've ever seen. He's been the mainstay of that, and you know, I just think his ever presence, people that, you know, even Tom can appreciate how good he actually was, you know. And I don't think he does get the credit he deserves, even though everyone knows he's a great player. But I think he does deserve to be in that category of like the 4 or 5 greatest players of all time, most certainly in our era. You know, we're not going to get into like Maradona's, Cruyff's and all that kind of thing. I don't think we've seen enough of them. So for me, they don't come into it. Just when I see these type of players that come along. So I had like my 3 favourite players of all time are Messi, Marco van Basten and Iniesta. And Iniesta for me, like when we're comparing him to Zidane, I think you do get judged on who you play for, what you win. You know, that does come down to it. And, you know, if we go through them, like 9 La Ligas, how many Copa del Reys? It looks like 5 or 6 Copa del Reys. Do you know what I mean?
But that's because he played in a better team. You said that about Zidane.
You're only playing a better team if you're that good.
Well,
you know
you can't say Zidane wasn't good.
And it's not like he wasn't, you know, he was in the team and he was just there. He was a massive part of the team. Like, he was a huge part of the team. Like, if you're saying he was on the same level as Messi, as I said, you've got XAVI, you know, that way. You've got the likes of Thierry Henry, you've got your Eto'os, you've got your Pujols, you've got your PKs, you know what I mean? You've got your Busquets. Like, obviously the names ring off, but he was above all them. He was the man that made them tick, really, you know. Messi obviously got a lot of the accolades, but he was able to get on the ball, the dribbling, going past players, the vision, the way he could pick a pass, everything like that. And again, what he's won, 4 Champions Leagues, that's unreal from any footballer.
It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Like, I don't think anybody is denying that Iniesta has won unbelievable amount of trophies. Like, I'm sure, I don't know what it is, he's probably the most decorated Spanish footballer.
He is the most decorated Spanish footballer of all time.
Yeah, well, that speaks volumes. But once again, I might sound like a broken record, he played with Messi, he played with XAVI, he played in an absolutely unbelievable team. Maybe later on in the podcast down the line we'll do comparing 2 teams. I don't think you can actually compare Barcelona to anyone, because I think, in my opinion, they are the greatest team ever. Granted, he was an amazing part of it, but that's also
a very big part of it.
Yeah, but that's also a comfort in that. Yes, he played an unbelievable team. What if he went like Zidane and went to Juventus? Would he have been the best player at Juventus? Would he have been the best player in a different team? We never know. He's definitely the best player at Vissel Kobe in Japan anyway. I'd probably be as good as him in Japan, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, you know.
So, look, that's Iniesta wrapped up. That's Zidane wrapped up on their club careers. What do you think, Sean?
So, my question I'd want to bring up is for Iniesta, first of all, is I wanted to bring up, so like what Tom said, kind of to elaborate on it, with Iniesta, not even more about his like how would we have known if he was a better player. Do you think it hurted his own club like profile, in the sense that, like, is he not as much of a household name player because he didn't go to a club like Juventus afterwards, or go to one of the bigger clubs around the world and not make a name for himself and prove that he was one of the best players, rather than just sit comfortably in the team, even though it's hard to keep that spot in Barcelona for all them years and fight for that spot and keep, like, be the linchpin of the team, as you were saying? Do you think maybe it kind of hindered his own playing career that he didn't prove himself more at other clubs? Like,
it's a fair point, you know. I don't personally think so. I think, as you said, they're like, to be the linchpin in that team with all them great players and with the greatest player in my eyes of all time, Messi, in the team, that, you know, to where else would he have went? You know, they were the team at the time. There was no one else that he wanted to play for. He's a Barcelona boy. He bleeds Barcelona, do you know what I mean?
That boyhood dream kind of thing.
Exactly, it was everything. He was at the club that he wanted to be at. you know, and he was making it at that club and more, you know. So I don't think so. I think the only thing that stopped him, as I said, from like getting the accolades that he definitely does deserve, is that he played in the Messi and Ronaldo era. Now, unfortunately for him, I believe he is that good. I don't think at the time, and we'll get into it as well, that Zidane played with the players of that against even the players of that calibre. That we haven't seen anything like a Messi and Ronaldo ever. I don't think.
Right, I'm going to cut in there because, right, I agree with you. In Zidane's era, there were no Messi and Ronaldos except Zidane, because he was that good at what he did.
Would you have him up there against them?
Easily. I think if you were to put Messi as a forward / winger, whatever you want to call him, I'd call him a forward, he scores goals. Ronaldo as a forward equals Zidane as a midfielder. How good they were at doing their jobs, he's on par with how good they were at doing their jobs as he was at doing his job. You know, when you say what is the character traits of a midfielder, box to box, defending, scoring, assists, everything, passing, skill,
I don't think
elegance.
Zidane had that though.
I think Zidane had
he was
absolutely
given a free
everything.
role a lot in the teams that he played for. So, like,
To a certain extent, yes.
yeah,
But I think that just shows you how good he was, that they said, you know what, you can't shackle this guy. This guy's pure magic.
oh no, there's no doubt he
He
was
just-
pure magic. He was unbelievable.
But it's
for me
like,
to sit here and try and bring him down is very hard.
you're not
you know
going
what
to,
I mean?
because
Yeah,
let's face it,
exactly,
we're
'cause I
both
can't.
football fans.
Yeah.
We both appreciate
I
the two
can't,
players
yeah.
you're talking about. But what I'm trying to say is, do you think Messi ever got a tactical instruction to the point where he put him in a little box? Like Guardiola. Guardiola is the type that he would have said to Messi, there is a tactical instruction to a certain extent, but other than that, just be a genius. Cristiano Ronaldo, the same. I'm certain Zidane's the same. Where Iniesta, I think, there was a style of play, there was a tactic, there was a pattern. You know, not putting Iniesta down.
I can't really agree with that, because you wouldn't play as freely as Iniesta. You wouldn't have the movement and the agility and all, and the way he gets on the ball, and he was going by players. You wouldn't have that if you were shackled. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't as if he was like, you know, prime example would be Rooney had the potential to be unbelievable. Now I obviously just believe his lifestyle dictated to whether Rooney got to the level of Ronaldo and Messi. I firmly believe that as well, and Iniesta. And Rooney, I think it was his lifestyle that affected him. And then Rooney played to kind of a position to suit the Man United team, to kind of aid Ronaldo.
Yeah.
I don't think it was like that at Barcelona. I think Iniesta was given that freedom and he showed it. It's just that Messi was doing things that no one had ever seen before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So-
yeah, with Sean.
Exactly. And like, if you take him out, I still think Barcelona would be that strong, because they would have been a collective unit the way they were.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a question, Sean, just before you jump in there.
Yeah.
Do you think that Zidane would have had more of a part to play at Barcelona under Messi than Iniesta did?
No,
I think he would have.
I honestly don't.
There's one thing, okay, let's face it, Zidane wouldn't have played the way Barca play.
No.
You know, that's grand, we all understand that. But if you're playing devil's advocate and you put Zidane in midfield, I think that Zidane plays a much bigger part than Iniesta does, in terms of how they play. The ball goes centrally through Zidane and Messi, the two of them. Messi and Iniesta were never on the same pedestal. I think if Zidane was playing for Barcelona, they both would have been put equally as important than the Barca team.
I don't think they would be, because for the simple fact that Messi is there and Zidane is here.
Now,
They're-
they can't see your hands, but
Yeah.
for the sake
He's
of
up
it,
there and Zidane
he's
is
not
below,
quite there.
yeah. So I would put Zidane and Iniesta at the same, and that's why we're having this conversation, basically, you know.
Again, you kind of say that, so what I'm kind of chiming in on from that part was a whole different thing to say, but what I heard was, if you did put Zidane into that squad, I think it would change the whole dynamic of the squad. Like when you put Suarez into that Barcelona squad, everything changed, where Suarez had to be fed a bit more. Then when you put bleeding Neymar on the other side, the whole dynamic of the team changed. Iniesta's role stayed the same throughout the whole thing, which is different, but I think the more prolific thing about Zidane is if you drop him into a squad, the whole squad changes around the play.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. Does that not show you how good this guy is?
I think it's
That when he comes in, he immediately becomes not only your best player, he becomes your focal point, he becomes the match winner, like Messi. That's what I'm saying. I think he's that important. I think we'll never know, because Iniesta's never moved to a big club other than Barca. And let's face it, right, he probably didn't have to. They're the best team in the world while he was there. But if Iniesta went to another team, would they have changed the way they play? Would they have made him the focal point of that team? Would they have, you know?
I'm sure people are going to say no, you know, that way, but we'll never know, as you said.
So you're hiding behind the fact that we never know.
No, definitely not. I'm a fair believer that he would. He probably would have shone brighter anywhere.
Let's be honest. Okay, say Iniesta signed for Bayern Munich. Okay, in that era they were a good team.
Yeah.
Robin, Ribery and all that did a very good team. If Iniesta had signed for Bayern Munich, do you think Bayern Munich would have said everything goes through Iniesta?
Yeah, because I think he may have even played in a different position. He would have got that Zidane role in behind a Lewandowski or something like that in that midfield with Robin and Ribery. They would have made him the main man, definitely at Bayern Munich, and you would have had Lewandowski and Iniesta in and around behind him in that free role. Like, we forget that Iniesta played centre mid, left wing, forward as well for a lot of his career, and was able to go in and out of the pockets and everything. Yeah. I 100% actually, I've answered your question when you couldn't have picked a better team actually.
When I said it, the example I said shit, I shouldn't have kept that example.
Team that plays with two holding midfielders and a central
exactly.
man.
But my point being, as I've kind of made, and we'll move on, is that I just don't think that if you sign Iniesta, he becomes your best player instantly, and you change everything you do to accommodate him, and the ball goes through him instantly.
Here's my only thing I'd say to you about that. The only modern day thing I can think of, look, when Modric moved to Madrid, he was Spurs' linchpin for the whole midfield. Went to Real Madrid and became the star man there as well. Ran the show.
You could say that. Point. It is a good point, and I wouldn't compare the two in terms of style of play.
Not style of play, but like in the sense that a midfielder going and changing the dynamic of his squad. Similar playmaker style.
I don't know. I'm not putting Iniesta down. I think, look, I'd still have a bit of fucking butthurt because they beat us into the Champions League finals, but I just think that Zidane, if Zidane went to any team in the world, and I'm gonna say it, at any era ever, Zidane would instantly become.
And I was just gonna say, it is a pity though, because we're talking about two great footballers, but they didn't meet.
They just passed
along the way. Iniesta was coming in and Zidane was coming to the end.
Well, that's a point that I was gonna move on to later in the show, but seems you just teed me up there and I'll say it. It's partly going into the international scene, but just bear with me, Sean.
It's a good segue. It's a good segue.
Don't chat about Zidane's last game was a World Cup final. Iniesta is now playing in Japan.
What happened in that cup final?
We're not getting into the international section as well.
We're not there, Robbie. Let me finish the point. No, we will. I think that's a good segue, Tom. Right, so the lads are going to move on now into international accolades and career. And we're going to take a quick break before we get in that so the lads can grab their sheets and we can get back and get ourselves ready. So we're now on to internationals. We're going to go over each player's international careers, what they've won, their highlights, their lowlights, and we're going to start off with Robbie. Can you give us your info on Iniesta?
Yeah, you just forgot to say there, Sean, after the first bit of the podcast that Robbie's actually out in front now in the
sorry
there, so we're going to let him go first.
We're gonna,
Tom,
it's kind of winner stays on, so if whoever's coming in the next section is the next man.
And clear the sheets actually as well, just to get a bit more information.
Carry on.
So yeah, Iniesta, again, an unbelievable career at international level as well. Played for one of the greatest international sides ever, and I don't think that's his fault that he was obviously again probably the main man in that team, you know. Mm-hmm. So, you know, he's part of the only team that won 2 Euros back to back. And they actually in between that won a World Cup as well, so they probably will go down as one of the greatest international teams ever, that Spain side. Mm-hmm. He, in that time, he won the 2008 Euros, played every game and was in team of the tournament. In 2010 actually scored the winning goal in the final and was man of the match, again selected in team of the tournament. And 2012 was man of the match in the final in which they actually won, and he was named player of the tournament. And obviously again selected in team of the tournament.
It's not great though, is it?
You've
left off a few things there, you know, like has he got any red cards in finals? No, I didn't think so.
No, unfortunately not. You know, and again, that part of his game, he wouldn't have been known as an aggressive player, but an absolute unbelievable kind of career there at international level, I think, you know. There's not much more I can say about him on that. Like, his international career has been pretty good to him, obviously because he's so good. Again, he played with great players as well, you know, and he was part of great teams, and you know, that's pretty much where we'd be at with Iniesta from the international point of view. I think that kind of speaks for itself alone.
It seems like it's a staple of both players, playing in big teams with big players and having kind of like being the big reputations of the team. I think is where Zidane kind of pops out more, whereas Iniesta was ever present and, like, you know, the maestro as they call him. Zidane was the big presence on the field, whether that be a good or a bad thing. Tom, do you want to elaborate on that a bit more?
Only a good thing. Anyone that says Zinedine Zidane wasn't entertaining hasn't a clue what they're talking about. Everybody loves aggression. I watched Roy Keane smash people every Saturday for 12 years at United, and it was unbelievable. Everyone loves aggression, and obviously everyone of a certain age is going to remember Zidane in the final headbutting Materazzi and getting sent off, and yes, ruined France's World Cup chance. He did. That's in my opinion. He did ruin it. It was ridiculous. He shouldn't have did it. But ultimately, Zidane had an unbelievable, successful international career. He won the World Cup in '98. He won the European Championships in 2000, and then they had an absolute disaster in the World Cup in 2002. Knocked out in the group stages. Senegal beat them, I think, 1-0 at one stage as well, didn't they? So look, he wasn't as successful as Iniesta in terms of trophies. It's nearly that same argument again. That Spanish squad arguably is the greatest collection of international footballers that there's ever been. Granted, Iniesta was probably Spain's best player, so it is a little bit different than the last argument. But again, Zidane stands up when it comes to individual awards in terms of goals in finals, player of the tournament awards, you know, red cards in tournaments as well. So running through it like Robbie did, obviously you won it in '98, won it in 2000, finished runners up in 2006 to Italy. But the records, some of these records I'm going to read out, and like, listen to the players that he's equal with here, okay? So, oldest player to win the Golden Ball, World Cup's best player. He was 34 at the time that he did it. At 34, Iniesta had just signed for a team in Japan. He had retired from international football. You know, I'm not saying
after winning everything.
Well, he didn't win the Golden Ball at 34, that's for that.
Yeah.
But once again, okay, moving on. Most goals scored in World Cup final matches. He has 3 goals in World Cup finals. Big man on the biggest stage. 2 headers against Brazil and a goal against the Panenka penalty in a World Cup final against Italy. Granted, it was over the line by about a millimetre. You know what I mean? Most World Cup matches, World Cup finals scored in. He scored in 2 World Cup finals, equal with Pele, Paul Breitner and Vava. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, who the hell is Vava? Some people are going to say.
He's Paul Breitner.
But, I mean, they're absolute legends, that his record says. Paul Breitner was quality. Most red cards received in World Cup matches, it's only 2. Granted, one was on the biggest stage in them all, and he has another red card.
Temperament, see, that's points deducted.
It's arse points deducted. He shared with Rigobert's song. Are you going to slash Rigobert's song on the podcast as well?
He won't make the podcast. Come on, be honest.
So you're talking about, he is literally. Oh, here's another one for you. Here's another one. The only player in history to win the World Cup and the European Championship, and is named the best player in both competitions. So not only did he win them, he was also the standout player in both competitions. The man, once again, as the theme of the podcast has gone, he actually eclipses the teams he plays in. He's the best player in the teams that he plays in. Iniesta won it, yeah, smashing player, the best player of the Spanish team as well. But Zidane is head and shoulders above Iniesta again on the international stage.
I personally don't think so. I don't think, if you look at everything there, that he is. I think Zidane came into tournaments late as well, like '98. I think it was Ronaldo's tournament. I don't think anyone's going to deny that. He absolutely lit the whole tournament up as a young footballer, you know, and everyone was talking about Brazil in that tournament. They got to the final. Ronaldo had an absolute mental breakdown, literally, and did not play in the final. So that final will always be remembered for Zidane's 2 great goals. You know,
Ronaldo
and
had a
also,
seizure in the dressing room because he knew he was about to play against Zidane.
well, you could say that, yeah. And I just think he really didn't do the things that Ronaldo did in that tournament. So he came to light and final, granted, you scored 2 goals in the World Cup final, and there's no debate that he is one of the greatest players of all time. But I just think then the same thing. I think he had a better tournament in 2000 when they actually won the European Championship.
He was a more established player at that time.
Exactly,
as well.
I think his confidence probably grew, and he really then started to become the player we all know, you know.
Exactly. Like, you talk a bit about Zidane, and like talking a bit about Iniesta. I remember Iniesta more simply because obviously it was older, seeing more of Iniesta's career. He absolutely, you know, they destroyed us when they beat Ireland 4-0, remember? In Euros in 2012. Was that when
it was
destroyed us?
2012, yeah.
2012 under
yeah.
Trap Tony, they destroyed us 4-0. And remember he played an striker, Fabregas played up front for them and scored 2 goals.
Yeah, the
like,
false 9 or whatever.
Yeah. And Iniesta ran the show. And look, that's comparing him against Ireland. We're terrible, we know that. But throughout the whole tournament, he was unbelievable. And he is an unbelievable player. And as I said again, he was Spain's best player, in my opinion. You know, they had XAVI, they had Ramos and PK, all in their prime. Iniesta was Spain's best player at that time, in the best Spanish team ever, and obviously they won 3 tournaments back to back. Unbelievable. And I do think, as much as I'm backing Zidane to the hilt, I do think there's very little to separate them when it comes to international. They both achieved everything, really, and they are both unbelievable.
I just think, as we were chatting earlier before we came back on, that, you know, there's a stat there that he's the only Spanish player, maybe the only player, I don't know, I'll have to look into it and get Sean to check that out. That won 3 man of the matches in a row, and that was in the group stages in 2012, if I'm not wrong, and then got the man of the match in the final. So my argument would be that, as I said, Zidane came in to the tournaments, I feel, in the later stages where Iniesta was consistent all the way through
from the beginning
and at a very high level. It's not as if he was a Gary Neville 6, you know, throughout the whole tournament. If you're getting man of the matches, you're playing an 8 or a 9, do you know what I mean?
Now I'm going to take exception to that because Gary Neville is an unbelievable footballer, and we're going to have a podcast on its own saying how good Gary Neville was. And there'd be no David Beckham without Gary Neville.
No one shouting him in for that, I wouldn't say that.
Well, probably my family.
Here's one that might kind of separate them a little bit international. Did either of them captain their international sides? So you kind of talk about the mentality of them, like Zidane being a bit of a hothead, but also, was he an inspiring leader? And then Iniesta, you say, ever present, brilliant football, the maestro. Was he good enough to drag a team up by the scruff of the neck and say, right, this is how we're going to play, lads? Who was, like, when you put it that way, were either of them captains in the sense, you know?
Well, I think, I'm not too sure about 98 to 2000. I don't think he was. I think it was Deschamps, wasn't it, at that point?
Yeah, Deschamps was,
Lillian Thuram, probably 2000. You probably know, you're a lot older than me, Robbie, but in 2006,
just a bit.
Yeah, in 2006, Zidane definitely was. He was captain. He was absolutely unbelievable in the tournament. That's the one when he won the golden ball, when he got player of the tournament. Exceptional. Like, people always remember that was it a semi-final or quarter-final performance against Brazil when he tore them to shreds. Like that, and that's a Brazil team that had Ronaldo in it, granted at the end of his career, like Zidane, Kaká in it. He just danced around them. Absolutely danced around these players, and he was at 34 years of age. Right till the end of his career, the man was playing at the top level. His last game was a World Cup final. You know, we all know what happened, but in terms of longevity, in terms of quality, that man was still able to lead his team to a World Cup final. Yes, they had unbelievable players. Thierry Henry was in his prime at that time. He had just won the Champions League with Barcelona, Thierry Henry. You know, they had unbelievable players, but really Zidane, right till the end, was the number one man, the leader, you know. Iniesta, I don't know. I don't think he was ever captain.
I don't think he was captain of Spain. I think they had Puyol, and then Sergio Ramos, I think, took over, you know, as the captain.
They always kind of had 2 or 3, didn't they? Kind of Piqué, Casillas. There was Casillas, I think, might have been in Euro 2012, and that was the captain.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so like, he wasn't the leader in terms of having the captaincy, but some players live by example, don't they?
Exactly, yeah, the way you play and all. And I just think he was brought up, you know, obviously the Barcelona way, and it teaches you more than anything to be humble and respectful of people, no matter what your status is.
Zidane was very respectful of other people on the pitch.
Oh yeah, really respectful. Yeah.
Especially the Italians.
Now, as I'd agree with you totally, you do to be the very best. Always have aggression in them. You know, Iniesta is no different to Zidane. I'm sure he has loads of aggression in him. You don't make it at that level if you don't. You know,
that's true.
Or if you don't play at their levels if you don't have aggression in it, I believe. You know?
I suppose when you take, like, let you go back to your point in a minute, but I suppose on that point of aggression, Barcelona and Spain constantly had the ball. He probably didn't have a lot of opportunity to show the aggressive side of his play. In terms of off the ball, he can be aggressive with the ball too, and he certainly was in terms of his dribbling and his passing. He was aggressive. Off the ball, he didn't really get the opportunity to show his aggressive side off the ball, but all the same, look, you, as you say, you can't be at the very top level without being aggressive. You know what I mean? And the two of them are unbelievable at international level. It's very hard to separate, in my opinion.
Yeah, and as I said, or as I was saying to you, I think the two of them would have been kicked up and down the park a lot. So it shows that they had a very, very strong mentality.
Yeah. Because
I know Zidane got sent off once or twice, but look, there's no question that they had a high mentality and you know, a real drive and desire, and to do really well, you know.
Yep. I'll just actually come back. I'll drag you back to that point. So you mentioned about getting 3 man of the matches in a row at group stages.
Yeah.
He did get 3 man of the matches, but in 3 consecutive tournaments. So he got man of the match 3 times in 3 consecutive tournaments, which is a good one.
It's still a brilliant stat, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and I believe you have an even better stat that you're going to show off now as well.
Oh yeah, I was saving this one. I was going to do that for after, but I'll bring it out now if you want, you know. So he's the only player to get man of the match in 3 different finals. So they're the Champions League, the Euros, and the World Cup. So that is
unbelievable,
amazing, you know. When you talk about
at the highest level of football,
the big game players, like Zidane, for example. You know what I mean? And I'm always going to bring it back to Zidane because I'm going to win this debate. But no, you're right. That is a brilliant stat. Man of the match in 3. The 3 biggest games that a footballer can play in my opinion.
Exactly.
Isn't
and
it?
Definitely 2 biggest anyway is the World Cup
and the Champions League.
You know, it doesn't get any bigger than that.
No,
and to be man of the match in them games tells you just how good he was, because the talent on show in them games and the quality does be.
That's the
pinnacle of football.
Right, lads. So we've heard all about them at international level. What about the calibre of opposition they were playing against? Because we all know it can go any way in a tournament. In the finals, who were they playing against? How big were they on the big stages? Like, what was the opposition like that they played with? Tom, start me off there with Zidane.
So obviously we touched on it earlier on that in '98 they played Brazil, an unbelievable Brazil team.
Brilliant.
Best team in the world at the time, arguably with France, but people probably would have put their money on Brazil to win it. Ronaldo was at that moment of time the best footballer in the world, but he didn't win the Ballon d'Or, but we'll touch on that later on. Someone even better did. But yeah, obviously we said Ronaldo had a seizure before the game, or an epileptic seizure, something along those lines, a medical emergency whereby he couldn't play. And people will always hold that against Zidane, that Ronaldo didn't play, and if Ronaldo had have played, that Brazil would have won the final. I don't think that's the case. Zidane is a big game player, and he turned up and scored 2 headers, and I think was it Emmanuel Petit scored the 3rd goal and they won 3-0 in the final. Something like that anyway.
Or Vieira, I think.
Vieira.
Like
we'll get Sean to check it. 98 World Cup final. We've only had to do so much research. I'm not going into it in that much detail.
Yeah.
Sean can check the 98 World Cup final. Who got the 3rd one. Moving on to Euro 2000. Going in as the world champions. They were massive favourites to win Euro 2000. They got Italy in the final. And Del Piero missed 2 absolute sitters in the game early on as well. That they should have been 2-0 up, and even Del Piero said after it in a documentary about Zidane, funnily enough, that they were the 2 biggest misses of his entire career, that they were on the biggest stage and he fluffed both of them, and if you watch them on YouTube, they were absolutely horrendous misses. They weren't even good chances. He miskicked them and everything. Zidane played well in the final. He wasn't really a standout performer in it. It was actually a poor final. Euro 2000 went to extra time, and
golden goal, Trezeguet.
Yeah, golden goal, Trezeguet won it for them. So that was Euro 2000, and they are the best team in the world for the last 4 years. They went into World Cup 2002 then, and it was a disaster. As we said, they were knocked out in the group stages. Moving on then, it was 2004. obviously not much again. I think they made the quarterfinals or semi-finals, something like that. 2006 they went on and they played Italy in the final. Obviously he scored in the final again, the Panenka penalty, absolutely unbelievable. Ultimately ended in the fact that he headbutted Materazzi, got sent off, and France were beaten on penalties against Italy. So the calibre of teams that they played, Italy and Brazil, they're two of the biggest international teams that that there's ever been. They've they got 9 World Cups between them, you know what I mean? So they're amazing, and those in particular international teams, that Brazil team at the time, smashing. That 2000 Italy team, the Italian league was the best league in the world in the 90s. You know what I mean? Some unbelievable players, as I said, Del Piero for example, played and France done them. So I think you have obviously 3 finals to work off, but I think those 2 teams, the sets of players that were in those teams, are better than the sets of players that Iniesta played against. Doesn't necessarily mean that they were tougher than Iniesta's finals, but I do think that they were a higher quality of player, higher calibre of player.
Just before you cross over to Robbie, I do have it there. So Zidane scored 2 obviously in the 98 final, and Emmanuel Petit scored a third goal.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was Robbie fucking Vieira. Would you stop?
Vieira set him up. He did.
So with that then, Robbie, we're going to cross over into you. What can you tell us about the calibre of opposition that Spain would have faced and Iniesta would have had to have pulled the team through?
Yeah, so in 2008 they beat Germany in the final, so everyone knows everything about Germany, you know. They're one of the most decorated countries in world football, you know. International level. Tough. It wasn't a great game. Fernando Torres scored the winner in the final.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, Torres. Actually had him back to score first in that game.
Did you?
He was 9-2 or something. But yeah, and then in 2010 they be a very dogged, wouldn't have been one of the better Netherlands teams, or what you'd associate a Dutch team with being total football. No, the total opposite actually. They were kicked off the park, Spain were, and it was another bad game, you know, and didn't play into the way Spain like to play, keeping the ball free flowing football. They weren't allowed to do that at all.
Yeah.
I think they wanted Nigel de Jong arrested for murder at one stage after the tournament.
And Xabi Alonso, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The kick.
I remember watching that. There was choppings in that game.
Yeah,
That was Howard Webb, wasn't it? Howard Webb was reffing it and he didn't send them
Check that
off.
for you now.
He gave him a yellow card.
And basically let de Jong do what he wanted. I think it was a bit over the top. Wasn't a great refereeing, to be honest.
Yeah, Howard Webb was it.
And Iniesta obviously got the winner in that final, you know. 2012 was an absolute masterclass. They brushed Italy aside.
I remember that. I actually had Torres to be top goal scorer and for Spain to win it. We had a bet on that. 2012.
And they were absolutely brilliant. Goals galore. It was
4-0.
Yeah, 4-0.
Even sorry to interrupt you on that. That was one of the most prolific moments of football for me. Seeing Casillas go to the referee, just wrap it up, rolling his hands around, doing it, just wrap it up.
They'd suffered enough.
It was enough. Yeah, the match it was an absolute trashing.
Yeah, it could have been 6 or 7 to be honest with you. You know,
easy.
I think Jordi Alba and all got involved.
He did, yeah.
And scored himself. But yeah, so when you talk about calibre, you know, there wasn't anything going to touch Spain at the time anyway. As we said, there'll always be questions over that the Brazil team that lost in that final because they didn't have Ronaldo. Yeah. He obviously took them to another level as well, as we talk about. And individual players can do that as good as the likes of Ronaldo, Iniesta.
Yeah, that's what I think.
You know. So again, I don't think there's anything to take away from it. In fact, I think that was one of the most heavily criticised Italian teams in Euro 2000. Even though they got to the final, but Germany and Italy have a knack of going deep into competitions, even if their teams aren't great. Anyway, that's been proven down the years.
Solid squads, like, yeah.
So, yeah, no, I don't think there's any difference in the calibre, really. They've beaten the top teams in international football in the finals, you know. If you were to ring them off, they're the teams you would pick with the most history.
I do think, right, fair enough, the nations themselves are the same. They both played Italy, but they both played 2 very different sets of players for Italy. Like, you're talking about, as I said, I keep saying Del Piero. For some reason I'm going blank in terms of the other Italian players, but I'm sure I had the likes of Filippo Inzaghi. Maybe it was at that time. You could tell me different. I'm sure Maldini was there at that stage. They had an amazing set of Italian players at that time, but when you talk about the Italian team in 2012, the likes of Di Natale was playing for them, Balotelli was playing for them. These players weren't the best players in the world at the time.
No, and again, it wasn't a great Italy team. You know,
That's what
Italy teams down.
That's
the years.
part of what I'm saying. Like, I mean,
but they still got to a final. Do you know what I mean?
they were there to be beaten, and they were well beaten. Do you know what I mean? We know that. I think the best one is the German team. That 2008 German team was probably on paper the best German team there'd been until they had won it in 2014.
Yeah, and even at that, you could probably pick holes in them as well, that they weren't great, you know, as Germany teams in the past.
Yeah.
But again, you know, it's a bit of a, you know, they're the top teams around, you know, they're the top countries. It's not like they're beating Poland or the Republic of Ireland. You know what I mean?
Well, if we got to a World Cup final, we'd be doing a podcast on it.
Well, here's one for you lads, right? So we all knew this was going to be the meat of the debate, whereas in their international careers being so close and playing for such prolific countries. So I'll cut across these lads and give you the last question before we move on to the next part of the podcast. Is your player good enough to drag a team to a win? So if it was the last 5 minutes of a match, or you're going into extra times, going to penalties, could your player be the man that could pull a team together and either score or set up the winner or do something magic? Robbie, I'm going to start with you on this one for Iniesta.
Yeah, I think in fairness the question is quite valid, and in fairness to both of them, they've proven that beyond a doubt they both could do it. The simple fact is Iniesta scored in a World Cup final when, you know, they were expected to win because they were the better team.
Which is a pressure in itself.
It's massive pressure. They've played the best football. They've blitzed the whole tournament. They've got there. They're the European champions. Everyone's expecting them to win, and they're coming up against a totally different style of football. This team aren't going to let them play. It's a bit like when we were watching The Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls. And I can't 100% remember the team that they were playing. I think it was the Pistons.
It was the Pistons. They're so aggressive. And Rodman was playing for them.
Exactly, yeah, and they were dirty, they were horrible, and the Chicago Bulls were the team. Like, Michael Jordan was the best player, you know what I mean, and they had all the skill and all the craft and all the guile, and that final alone, they had to go deep into the trenches in that game, you know, and Iniesta popped up in extra time and scored the winner, you know, so definitely he's got it all there to really drag a team, you know, and there was no Messi in that team
so
to
it was
bail him out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know,
and that's a good point. You know, like Zidane has proven it. As I said, he's the most goals in World Cup finals, and he scored in the most World Cup final matches. Granted, they didn't really have to dig deep. Maybe in Euro 2000 you could say they did. It went to extra time, and that he didn't score in that final in particular. But he's a leader. He's captained them in the final in 2006. Would I say that he's the man that you'd rely on the most heavily to score and to lead you there and get you there? Maybe not to a certain degree. I'm going to contradict myself, but when it came to a push came to the shove, he was on the spot and he put it away. You know, and he scored the goals that ultimately won them the World Cup in '98. But I have to kind of side with Robbie a little bit in it, and that the 2010 final is the perfect example of that question. That was as pure anti-football as you can get when it comes to the Netherlands in that final. Do you know what I mean? They kicked the shit out of Spain. Absolutely kicked the shit out of them. Especially the likes of Iniesta and Xavi Alonso and all the players that were creative, David Silva's, not Fabregas's. And he turned up and he did it, and he scored and he won it. So that in itself, I have to say, I would, as much as I love Zidane, I think Iniesta in that final proved that when the push came to the shove and they really had to dig deep, he stepped up and he scored.
Whereas when you I was going to say, if you were to say Zidane, if it came down to it, you look back at his famous moment where, like, when the pressure was on and something was said and it got into his head that he did get explosive, and that temperament and that personality came out.
No doubt that's what Holland were doing to the Spanish
That's
players,
exactly
you know,
it.
It goes on.
100%.
It's not really,
happens at every level of football.
They're trying to rile them up. And none of the Spanish players reacted to the point where there was a sending off. They just kept going, and they scored. Whereas you say, Zidane was provoked, he reacted, and that was the end of his career. They lost the final, and maybe if he hadn't have reacted and he dug deep, mentally, physically, he could have stepped up and won the game. There is a difference.
He definitely dug deep physically, knocked him to the ground.
He floored him,
Just before we finish this part, what I would say is, and we're probably kind of giving the other one, he did, in fairness, drag that France team
squad.
football-wise to that final. Now, I
In
know people say,
2006.
you can't do it on your own, but that is one of the most best individual displays from quarter-final to final I've ever seen someone play, you know, so...
Most definitely. You know, and I was more so focusing on the finals, but you're right. Brazil in the quarter-final or semi-final, whatever it was, that performance alone people look at constantly. There's YouTube videos of just that performance, of how good he was, the ball he puts in for Henry's goal, everything. He really did, and he was 34 at the time. He wasn't young. It was his last couple of games of professional football, so I do agree, but I'm gonna go Iniesta on this one personally.
Fair play, lads. That's an awful lot to digest. I think we'll cut off here. We'll take a bit of a break and we'll come back to you now in a few minutes. Right, so lads, we've gone over club level, international level. Now we're going to bring it down to a personal level with the two players. We've got their individual rewards. Can we start off with you, Tom? What has Zidane won at his own personal level?
What hasn't he won is the question that you should be asking. He's won everything, as you boys know. I think he's one of the only players. He's won the most Footballer of the Year awards of any footballer of all time. I'm going to reel through them quickly. I don't want to talk too much about stats, but we all know the whole thing about the Ballon d'Or and FIFA World Player of the Year and FIFA Ballon d'Or and Best Men's Player. They're all a mixture of basically the same accolade, different trophies, different names, but the same accolade. It's the best player in the world of that year. Okay, in 1998 he won the Ballon d'Or, but he also won FIFA World Player of the Year. It's basically, it was the same thing, but FIFA wanted their own award, because Ballon d'Or was obviously France Football Magazine award, and it has been since the 50s. Okay, so for the sake of arguing, I will say he's won 4 World Footballer of the Year awards. The Ballon d'Or once, and FIFA World Player of the Year 3 times. 98, 2000 and 2003. Now Robbie's going to argue Ronaldo probably should have won it in 98, only for he missed the World Cup final. If Brazil had won that World Cup final, Ronaldo probably would have won it in 98. But still, he was absolutely amazing again in 1998.
All over, club and
everything. They lost the Champions League final. If he wins the Champions League final and wins the World Cup, like, fucking hell, like, you know, what more do you want? But again, 4 World Footballer of the Year awards is absolutely incredible. He's won the UEFA Championship, European Championship Player of the Tournament in 2000 as well. He won the FIFA Golden Ball, Best Player in the World Cup in 2006. The man is just an absolute monster in terms of his list of awards individually. Like, he has 2 pages worth of individual honours. You know what I mean? Like, Iniesta to fit on the back of a smoke packet. You know what I mean?
More than a smoke packet.
No, that's a disservice to Iniesta. He obviously is an amazing player, but Zidane dwarfs him in terms of how much he's won. Serie A Footballer of the Year 2001, Serie A Top Assists in 2001. You know, you're talking about the FIFA 100, the best living players, that the Pele list as they call it. He was on it. Best European Player of the Year for the past 50 years in 2004. He won it. Granted, it was before Iniesta's time. As I said, Golden Ball 2006. He won World Player of the Year. He got the Silver Award a couple of times. He was second in the list and stuff like that. ESPN Team of the Decade, Player of the Decade. I can keep going, but really the ultimate line is here: Zinedine Zidane is arguably the greatest footballer of all time after Messi and Ronaldo.
Right, so Robbie, we've gone through Zidane's. What can you tell us about Iniesta's?
Can I just have it? We've gone through part of Zidane.
Oh, sorry, we've
still another.
We've had a brief
there,
summary of Zidane's achievements. Can you give us some of Iniesta's?
Tom going back to his sheets.
Yeah, he has.
So look, there's no doubt Zidane has, just to clear it all up, 4 Ballon d'Ors basically, effectively, as Tom said,
the equivalent
best
of
player in the world 4 times, okay, and that's indisputable, you know. As I said, it's all about eras as well. They have to come into it. You know, I think the era comes into it because of Messi and Ronaldo. You know, and as I said, Iniesta's been right up there. He came second in 2010. A lot of people felt for the Ballon d'Or he should have won it, given the fact that I think in the space of that time, like he scored the winning goal in the cup final, he played for the two best teams on the planet at that time, Barcelona and Spain.
Granted, they didn't win the Champions League that year, but it was squeezed between 2 times that they did win it, 2 years.
2 years that they did win it. In the space of 4 seasons, he won the 5 big competitions that you can win. He won them 5 times. So he won, or the 3, he won the Euros, the Champions League and the World Cup. Like that's, you know, and he played in them teams. As I said, he's played with and in the era of the greatest player ever and the second greatest player ever in my eyes, Cristiano Ronaldo. And, you know, other people would have given him the Ballon d'Or in 2010, you know. That was 50-50 in my eyes that he came second. And, you know, only for that, as I said, how many would he have if they didn't play in that era?
True.
Do you know what I mean? And again, like, he's been in countless teams of the years, UEFA Best Player in Europe award in 2012.
Which is an important one. Because that was essentially when FIFA kind of stopped that World Footballer of the Year thing, and they gave this Best Player in Europe award. It's like the old European Footballer of the Year. You know, it wasn't World Player.
Like, it doesn't hold as much prestige at this day and age. And again, as I said, it's probably because football moves on and evolves. That maybe it doesn't have that prestige. That can be argued as well, you know. But yeah, UEFA Best Player in Europe award 2012. He's got, you know, the Golden Foot is an interesting one in 2014. I was actually just reading there that it's only given out once as an award, and it's given to players of the age of at least 28. So, and it deems you to be, again, the best player of 28 and above, basically, you know.
At that time.
At that time in the world.
That's random, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a mad one.
That's a weird. That's a
I've never heard of it before. Just checked it out.
Would that be like the average peak age of a football player?
I think that's probably what they're getting at, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's an award I've never heard of, but I just
the Golden Foot sounds
plucked it out there out of nowhere.
Sounds crap.
The sequel to my level.
No. You know, he's been in the UEFA Champions League team of the seasons. You know, I think you waited for Ultimate Team of the Year in 2015. Now it's not hard to put him in them kind of teams because of how he's so good, and they kind of pale to Ballon d'Ors, which is, you know, fair enough.
I will say now, sorry to interrupt you, but as a casual football fan, when I thought of the Ballon d'Or, the only time I ever found that interesting was when it was a race between Ronaldo and Messi, who was going to get more. Like, I never really cared about when Kaká won it back in the day, or when that never came into it when I was watching football back then.
The thing was, when people back prior to 2008, it was obviously who's the best player in the world. Okay, they've got it, and it was over. But since them two boys came along, it has been tit for tat. I think, does Messi have 6? And Ronaldo has 5. Something like that. Like, that's unbelievable. I think before them two boys came along, you had the likes of Cruyff and Platini that had 3 each, and Zidane obviously has 1, but technically 4 World Player of the Years. Then they come along and they 5 and 6 each in the space of 10, 12, 13 years, whatever it is. Like, should we never see that again? We've never seen that before and never see it again. But in terms of what you were saying, players that got it, like Fabio Cannavaro got it, didn't he? 2006 was it when they won the World Cup, Italy?
Exactly, yeah.
Kaká 2007. Like, they were hailed as like gods when you won a Ballon d'Or. Now it's a little bit like people forget that Modric won one. In the middle of Messi and Ronaldo, because it was so insignificant that he won 1. Because them boys have 5 and 6 now. It's a weird argument now, the Ballon d'Or.
It's the same again. Modric got one, but you know, probably.
And Iniesta didn't. But Iniesta didn't. And who had a better season? Modric lost in the World Cup final and won the Champions League. Iniesta won the World Cup. Scored in the final. And obviously he didn't win Champions League, but he won it either side of that, including trebles. It's madness, isn't it? Like,
it is. So
if you pick in history who deserved the Ballon d'Or more, Modric or Iniesta, sure, no one's going to argue that it was Iniesta.
Iniesta should have got one,
You know?
If we do show you about eras, Ronaldo and Messi have been nominated 12 times each for that Ballon d'Or. It's madness.
Crazy. And I think Ronaldo's won it 5 times and has finished either second or third 7 times. Like, he's never finished outside the top 3 since he's been nominated.
Exactly, yeah.
You know,
You
it's
know.
unreal. And that is the Ballon d'Or. It is the best players in the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, Zidane has won it, but there's another one here that I just realised, because a lot of the awards that Zidane would have won, he retired obviously, as we said, as Iniesta kind of started kicking on into his peak. There's one here, UEFA Champions League best player of the past 20 years, and he won that in 2011. So that would have been in Iniesta's peak that Zidane was awarded the best player in the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Or since 91 to 2011, he was awarded the best player in the Champions League.
Yeah, that's in Iniesta's era.
In Iniesta's era.
Yeah.
It's a good one, but
Robbie was going to come
It's
back at you there and
strange.
said Zidane retired because Iniesta was coming into football. You know, so he was going to say.
Hard.
Yeah.
Zidane retired to give everyone else a chance.
But would you say that then, like, because we're talking about eras as well about that, would you say Zidane was well, obviously the Messi Ronaldo, he was a great player, but was there anyone in his parallel of his era, like in that kind of sense?
It's hard to say,
Because we look at Iniesta now, who seems like on level with trophies for club wise and stuff like that, and international seems great and close to him. But then you have to look at individual things, and it draws away a little bit. But like, was there someone in his era
so
that could
in
match him?
Zidane's era, now obviously as I say, you're a little bit older than me, you're going to have more knowledge of a broader say, but in terms of Zidane in midfield in the late 90s through the middle of the 2000s, he was head and shoulders above everybody.
Yeah,
That good,
we
like-
were kind of only briefly chatting about this the other day as well. Like, you would definitely say, if you were to put your top 10, now take Maradona, Pele and all out, if your top 10 footballers of all time,
Outside the modern era, say from
Yeah.
90s onwards.
exactly, you know, you'd have Ronaldo in that was playing in the same era as Zidane.
Yeah.
I struggle to think who else I'd have in my top 10.
Yeah.
I would have at one stage have Shevchenko. But
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
when he went to Chelsea,
He died off a bit,
completely derailed anything he had really done, which is sad because he was a great player.
One player,
Great
sorry to
goal
cut
scorer.
across you, one player who did win the Ballon d'Or, Pavel Nedved, won the Ballon
Yeah.
d'Or for Juventus around, was it 2001, 2002, something like that. Would have been right in the middle of Zidane's era.
Yeah.
People will argue that Pavel Nedved was a great player, in fairness, smashing midfielder / winger, depending on where he played, but he was nowhere near Zidane.
No,
It was a
And-
bit of a Modric job that
Yeah,
he won it.
You wouldn't put him in like Ronaldo,
No.
Messi. Obviously, you wouldn't. Well, obviously not there on a different stratosphere. But
Yeah.
again, you know, you're kind of thinking there is a bigger pool. You've
Yeah.
got your likes here, Wayne Rooney's.
I'll just
you
cut
know-
in again as well. He actually won it in 2003, the Ballon d'Or, not 2001. So, same again. He wasn't at that level, but that season in particular, I was just looking quickly through Nedved's history here. He got obviously Czech Footballer of the Year, Serie A Player of the Year. He won the Best Midfielder of the Champions League, the Ballon d'Or. So 2003 was obviously an amazing era for him, but part of that was the fact that he obviously he won the league with Juventus, won the cup with Juventus, and they were beaten in the Champions League final. So a lot of it had to do with the club, and he just happened to be one of the better players at the time.
Yeah.
But going back to that, who rivaled Zidane in that era? And for me, no one. You know, not especially in midfield anyway.
So I'll put this to you then, lads. If let's say, so era wise, you'd say Messi and mainly geared towards you here, Robbie, with this one actually.
Yeah.
So if I was to cut out Messi and Ronaldo, do you think Iniesta comes across as the star man of the past from that, like, what was it, 2009 to 2000 and something?
Yeah,
like
I think you'd be hard pressed to say that there was anyone better than Iniesta
Yeah.
after the two of them.
Yeah, because that's one thing I always kind of notice is that if you look from what I've drawn from the conversation so far, is he's both named very close stats, and really like it's almost down to a personal level who you prefer. But as soon as you add the two boys in, it just throws everything off balance. Like the scales have to be rewritten almost. Like they just change everything. So it's tough for.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Sean, and it'd be interesting for what people listening actually, if they could comment and what do they think. Like, I can't actually think beyond Iniesta. Maybe I'm blinkered, you know. But I can't. What I said, I can't see who you would push him to say. You know, maybe Tom has someone that he thinks of that. Apart from the two boys in our lifetime, in our like what we've seen of the modern day football, as Thomas said, is there a better player than Iniesta?
I think even in the caption on all the social media posts, we said, forget Gerrard, Lampard and Scholes. This is the real deal, these two boys. Let's take the case study of Gerrard, Scholes and Lampard. Do they touch Iniesta? I don't think they do.
No.
I love Paul Scholes. I'm a fucking I'd have 11 Paul Scholes in my team for good.
I don't know.
But I don't think any of them touch
You see the
Iniesta.
quotes even from the likes of XAVI. I don't know if Iniesta is ever like about Scholes. The way fellow teammates talk about him and all the stuff he could do with the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone, I think the likes of Zidane, I don't know how true them comments are.
Yeah, some of them
like
are
with Ferguson saying, give me 11 sticks and Zidane.
And Zidane will win the Champions League.
Yeah.
Some of them quotes are
No, but
obviously
even some of them about Scholes. Scholes was a great player, don't get me wrong. But again, you're talking about levels. And Iniesta, I'd say now, the last 2 or 3 seasons, and it's a bit of maybe a bold statement, Tom, probably that, De Bruyne is kind of getting to that
he's elevating himself
kind of level, but he's not going to did he fall short with his national team? He's certainly fallen short with Man City. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, not any fault of his. He's tried everything.
Yeah, I think your point is good in terms of De Bruyne, but I think the key word is longevity.
Yeah.
How long can you keep it up at the top level? As we touched on earlier, Zidane World Cup finals last game. Iniesta's gone to Japan. They both were 12 years at the top level. And then Zidane retired, Iniesta went to Japan. So there's an argument there that says, would Iniesta carried on longer? Yeah, but in Japan is not even in the top 50 best leagues in the world. Do you know what I mean? It's just not like it's he's gone there for the lifestyle.
Well, I think Zidane came to prevalence and stayed at shorter level of time than Iniesta.
Iniesta peaked early and maintained that, and then maybe his last couple of years Barcelona he dipped again, and now obviously with the Vissel Kobe. But I do take your point about De Bruyne, going back to that. De Bruyne has the potential to me to be one of the best players that we've seen in recent years. I actually don't think he's going to achieve it at Man City. I think he needs to go to a Real Madrid or a Barcelona to be that next level.
Yeah,
I do. Right, I just do. I don't think, like we're talking about these players, Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard. Even if we talk about the foreign players in the Premier League, okay, Thierry Henry, Drogba, Aguero, for example, are they 3 of the best footballers ever? You could argue, but when you really think about it, they have to go to the big clubs, the Barcelonas, the Real Madrids.
You would definitely put Henry in your top 10.
But we went to Barca and he won a Champions League. Granted, his best football was at Arsenal, we know that.
But that's what I mean, someone that good and he that wasn't trumping Iniesta. Do you know what I mean?
Well, here's what I wanted to bring back to. So the 3 boys, Scholes, Lampard and Gerrard, if you put them beside Iniesta, accolades, personality, would they be as close? Probably not.
It's hard to say because Paul Scholes individually didn't win a lot. In terms of individual honours. In terms of club honours, he's won everything there is to win multiple times. Lampard individually, Chelsea's top goal scorer ever.
Yeah.
Premier League legend. And Gerrard then has kind of a mix of both.
Yeah.
He's won a lot at club level, won a lot individually. Great goal scorer, great leader. They are kind of a mix, but I still think that Iniesta is better than every single one.
But that's what you have to think. If you put Iniesta has it all on all levels, and he got trumped a little bit in the the personal ones because of the area he was in.
Yeah.
But international and thing, as you brought up to me, Robbie, kind of shows that he's miles above any other midfielder in terms of accolades with club and country. Whereas Zidane personally would trump all of the lads there, I'd say, in individual ones, and probably go toe to toe with them in club level as well. And he's done it at different levels in different clubs. Where a lot of them boys stayed at the same one club men, And so if you're to go one club, Iniesta trumps them. If you're to go personal accolades and achievements, Zidane. So you just have to show how good of a calibre these 2 players are that he's talking about.
2 of the best midfielders of all time, no doubt.
Yeah, they are. They really are. And as I said, it just goes to show that how good Iniesta was. I don't think people realised, when you start to sit down and you chop it all down, that everyone knew he was a great player, but I honestly would put him in there right up with Messi and Ronaldo. Obviously he probably just falls short. History will tell us he does, rightly or wrongly, but stuff he's done. And I just think his era, look at the players we've named in his era. We struggle to name players in Zidane's era apart from Ronaldo. Again, another one comes to mind, Rivaldo, great player, definitely in my top 10 of the modern era to ever play the game.
I think if we were to sit down and actually look at it again, you would turn around and say, okay, we found a lot more. Like one we're forgetting about, Roy Keane. Roy Keane in Zidane's era was eagerly
Well, it's funny you should mention
Oh.
that, Kane. I mentioned this to Sean while we were on the break.
activated his trap card.
Yeah. So there's another feather in my cap
I
here.
can't believe I've said this just
Yeah.
before we're about to finish.
Yeah,
Right,
so I
let's
might as
have
well
it.
get this in at the end.
Let's go.
That 99 semi-final was an outstanding performance by Kane, and I'd actually go as far as say he had Zidane in his pocket that night. So,
Well,
you
I,
know,
I'm,
I've never
I'm a
seen
Manchester United fan, and I'm going to agree with you. Yeah, he did.
I've never seen Iniesta, anyone have Iniesta in his pocket.
Do you
know
have a
that
rebuttal
way?
for that one, Tom?
I do, yeah. Park Ji-sung, 2008 semi-final, Manchester United versus Barcelona, 1-0. Paul Scholes scored. Old Trafford. Park Ji-sung marked Iniesta out again.
I don't remember that.
I think
You
that's
don't remember it because you can't remember
I
Iniesta
remember-
playing that night
Yeah,
because he
I
marked him
remember
out
the
again.
2009 final, alright, when he played with a toe injury actually, and he wasn't an out shoe. I don't think Man United actually touched the ball in that final, did they?
I remember the year before. I had a slight amnesia between 2009 and
Oh, John
2011.
Terry slipped.
I think that's it of the lads. Park Ji-sung,
Park
Best
Ji-sung
player.
and Roy Keane.
best players.
Roy Keane had to put Zidane in his pocket. Park Ji-sung did it to Iniesta.
I don't know about that. We'll have to, no one remembers.
The next
that.
podcast.
The,
Park
the
Ji-sung
next
versus
one
Roy
is
Keane.
Park Ji-sung versus Roy Keane for the next podcast. Okay, I think that's the end of the podcast for this week. What do you think, boys?
Yeah, 100%. Thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, it's
Definitely.
great having Sean on board as well.
Well, not going to pick a winner because
No.
let's face it, we're all football fans, and the two of them are arguably the two best midfielders ever, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you were to say to me, this is my final thought on it, besides from naming a better player, it's kind of like with the Ronaldo Messi arguments. Like if you drop Zidane, like if you drop Ronaldo into any squad, he'll shine. Whereas Messi, he done great at Barcelona and he can do anything at Barcelona because he's that good. Same in Iniesta, he done so much at Barcelona, he wouldn't have to do it anywhere else. It's kind of like that. It's almost like the same argument on a different scale. I think the both of them are just incredible athletes, incredible football players, and just super.
So what
yeah.
we'll do is, I think at the end of the podcast, we're going to leave you with a bit of a teaser, a question, and that you guys can comment on social media, whatever. If you want to Google the answer, that's fine. Like realistically, the only person that you're fooling is yourself. We just want people to give it a bit of a thought, see what you can get, and see can you answer this question. Robbie's going to call it out now in a moment.
Right, so the question actually is the player with the most defeats in Champions League finals.
That's it. So what I want you to do is, if you know the answer, let us know on social media. We obviously have our Facebook page at the Offside Trap, Instagram at the Offside Trap 1. Let us know, and we also have on the WhatsApp as well. If you go onto the Facebook page, you can WhatsApp us the answer as well. And what we'll do is, if we get someone that gets the correct answer, we'll give you a shout out on the next podcast and let you know. But look, thanks very much for listening to the podcast. I have to say I really enjoyed this episode. I want to thank Sean for coming in on this one. Hopefully he comes in on more in the future. Well, yeah, that's us from the podcast. This is the Offside Trap. Thanks very much.
Cheers, boys. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks very much, Tom and Sean. Again, it was a pleasure.